Meantime, not everyone at the White House is on board with this new immigration plan. We're now getting reports that President Trump's top trade advisor, Robert Lighthizer, and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin were both opposed to these potential tariffs on Mexico. So is this the right plan at the right time? Let's ask GOP strategist Evan Siegfried, Democratic strategist Max Burns, and Fox News contributor Kat Timpf. Evan, what do you think?
Well, I think the president missed a golden opportunity here. He has gone out and he's met with people like Kim Jong-un and developed these personal relationships and tried to get positive results out of them. And he could have done that with AMLO, Mexico's president. But instead, he's gone out and he's decided to implement what's essentially a tax on the American people. If you are a Texan, what this 5% tax does is it raises taxes on Texans by $5.35 billion. And if it goes to 25%, it'll go up to 28% in terms of the tax. And it's very, very punitive to us as Americans as opposed to Mexico.
Although the Mexico peso got hammered, I mean, I think I think ultimately, personally, it hurt Mexico more than us because we don't have to buy all these things that come across. There's a lot of people that will
speak for yourself. I love guacamole.
But here's the thing I do want to ask, though, because we know President Trump's style is usually it's a carrot and stick sort of approach. So the stick came first. Perhaps the carrot comes now. We're getting word, Kevin Cork just mentioned Kellyanne Conway. There was a question about meeting with Mexico. She did indeed say they are on their way. She was also asked, will this jeopardize USMCA? She said it should not, and that this can run on parallel tracks. Congress could approach this, and also Mexico can work on this at the same time as improving their immigration policy, Kat.
Right. I really hope that this is just Trump doing that thing where he comes out with something really bold and big and kind of scary sounding, and it just amounts to rhetoric, because tariffs, as you mentioned, are a tax on the American consumer. And I know that he wants Mexico to feel the pain, but American consumers are going to feel the pain.
I want to push back on that, because there's not a single person watching this show that let's say Chinese tariffs went 25% would pay 25% extra. This is the way it really works, and people should understand. First, the currencies adjust. Today, the U.S. dollar was up 3% against the peso. That almost wipes out the 5%. Then the exporters, they take a lower price. So if Mexico or China is going to sell us something at $10, we don't have customers for it. They'll sell it at $9. That's why China's economy is getting crushed. I mean, and by the way, importers take a bite, vendors take a bite, the stores take a bite. I watch the markets. If any store could raise prices 25%, Woolworths would still be in business.
Here's two
Sears would still be in business. But let me go on beyond that, because I think that's a fallacy that somehow any business can take any price and raise it 25%. That's a fallacy. If a business can raise prices 3%, normally their stock goes higher. But I do want to bring this up because Nancy Pelosi's out with a statement, Max. I got to ask you about that. She's saying that, listen, of course, she mentions USMCA, but she's saying that she now hopes that President Trump will join in bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform. I think that's what everybody wants. What's stopping that?
Yeah. It would be nice to get that. And the president has agreed and then backed out on his own statements 5 or 6 times. The challenge with this and with these tariffs is that even though it may be a carrot and stick, the U.S. consumer is getting the stick now. I mean, J.P. Morgan just came out with a statement calling this the Make Abysmal Growth Attainable plan. I mean, they're looking at going into. You do know
that we grew 3.2% in the first quarter after a year's worth of tariffs on China. A year's worth of tariffs on China. But this tariff thing just came out yesterday on Mexico. It hasn't even gone into effect.
And we're
talking about an
to
immigration crisis. Let's just remind the audience of what we're talking about here. In April, 109,000 illegal immigrants apprehended. In March, 100,000 apprehended. In February, 76,000 apprehended. Every one of those numbers are up 100% or more year over year. This isn't a crisis that happened with Trump's tweet last night. This has been in effect for a long time. Why? Let's be honest, Max. Isn't this just a better political ploy for Democrats that they've made a calculation that as long as this is an issue, it's better for them with voters?
This isn't just an issue for Democrats or politicians. This is the fact we spent $16 billion paying farmers for the hurt we've already caused them.
We're talking about immigration policy. Let's not conflate these things. I'm talking about immigration policy that, by the way, unaccompanied children, almost 9,000 in April. The numbers are staggering.
Yep.
They're staggering. Why aren't the
Democrats
doing anything about this?
You need the president and the Senate to come along. We've had agreements on comprehensive immigration reform.
No. We've had agreements of 8 people
multiple times.
We've had 8 agreements of 8 people in the entire Congress. This predates Donald Trump in terms of updating our election laws, or no, pardon me, our immigration laws, because I mean we've been waiting longer for immigration law updates than George R.R. Martin's next Game of Thrones book. But here's the real problem with what Trump's doing. There is an immigration crisis, and it's only getting worse. But if Trump, in doing this, yes, American consumers might go and buy products from otherwhere, and it will hurt Mexico. That hurts Mexican jobs and actually has more Mexicans trying to come into the United States.
Ultimately, we all agree that ultimately you will create an economic issue in Mexico that makes the problem worse. But we know Mexico's on their way, and hopefully they'll mitigate all this.
I don't think it'll work because Mexico has said they're not going to respond to economic threats.
Well,
so on top of that, I don't think it's going to happen when he wants.
Though if they launch into retaliatory tariffs, that could hurt American providers as well.
But I tell you what, we've got a pretty strong economy right now. All we're asking Mexico to do is just enforce maybe some immigration rules that you have on the books. I wish we had more time. I love all you guys. We'll talk to you again real